Hello there.
General Kenobi.
Welcome to my Hot Flashes video guide, Flame Surge, CI, and Ailment Stacking build I made for the Bestiary League. Right up front, let me address the questions I know will be asked before showing how some of the build works. The Elementalist Ascendancy was really downplayed at the start of patch 3.2. Most opinions I saw were negative or believed that no one would play her simply because everyone else was just substantially better. I chose to find out for myself with the goal of making the most out of what could be done and a unique item I found. I chose to use Flame Surge because it's a really disliked spell, despite having very good damage and interesting mechanical limitation. I also looked for a strong enough build to kill bosses, while still having relatively fast map clearing potential. No bamboozle, I actually think the build is acceptably fast for the all-around ability that it has to clear the content, and I'm really excited to push it into red maps and see if it breaks. The build can run most map mods, with the notable exception of Insulation being tricky or simply not worth the time. The build doesn't rely on curses, so hexproof is not a big deal, and we use a special recovery mechanic for regaining mana, so Of Congealment is possible to run, just rather risky since we do leech for energy shield. So what does the build actually do? It uses Yoke of Suffering to increase the damage taken by enemies by 5% for every unique type of ailment we apply, and it allows elemental damage the ability to shock if it otherwise couldn't because it wasn't based lightning. Flame Surge is a limited spell in that it cannot ignite by design, but that doesn't stop it from being able to shock. The new Opal Ring Stormfire similarly allows lightning damage to ignite enemies. Herald of Thunder cannot apply shock, but it can certainly ignite. So in combination, these two abilities reliably shock and ignite all targets with only needing to use the one skill. It also uses the unique helm, Mind of the Council, to recover 3% of maximum mana whenever we shock an enemy. This effect is unique in that it does not recover this mana over 4 seconds, but instead instantly. That means most of our mana can be reserved and the build still feel like it never runs out of mana. I chose to go Energy Shield and CI because Mind over Matter would really hurt the damage of the build, and there are still a lot of great alternatives for survival in Energy Shield. Incandescent Heart shifts 25% of all elemental damage from its taken into Chaos, and has reasonable defensive stats. Barrack's Grip gives life leech against shock enemies, which are practically all of them, and rare Shaper Gloves give a 30% stun avoidance while casting, and can also roll Global Blind. I pick up 70% stun avoidance while casting on the skill tree, so that means we have a 100% chance to avoid stuns as long as we're casting a spell. I use a 4-link Orb of Storms with Arcane Surge, Poison, and Increased Duration. I use this in the gloves because the Orb of Storms can blind more effectively against single target bosses, and the poison gives us a 5% additional damage taken increase because of Yoke. Herald of Thunder applies dual penetration curses to speed up map clearing, and in Enlightened level 2 allows both Heralds, Discipline, and Arctic Armor to run while still permitting me to cast. One of the really neat things about Flame Surge is that it has a linear area of effect rather than the typical cone of most spells or supports. While Pendulum of Destruction activates every 5 seconds, the range of Flame Surge easily extends beyond the screen. Combined with the free elemental proliferation, as well as the Herald of Ash proc, clearing packs is really quite quick without sacrificing damage. Beacon of Ruin enforces a mechanical regime change that alters the rules for applying ailments, which is core to our setup. Chills and shocks that succeed in their roles to be applied always do so at a fixed base percentage. For chill, this is 10%, for shocks, 20%. It's actually closer to 14 and 24% because of our non-damaging ailment effectiveness, but just think about the fact that there is no longer a floor that our elemental damage must reach that then looks at the enemy's total maximum life and checks to see if the ailment is applied or not. That's huge because by simply getting a reasonable shock and ignite chance on tree and gear, we always will be applying those ailments. Our curses subtract about 110 fire resistance from enemies. The Scorching Ray Totem does a bit more. But it's important to note that without increased duration, Scorching Ray, it does not realistically remove the full minus 24%, because some stacks are falling off. At level 84, I was still below 6k energy shield, and roughly around 55k tooltip, fully buffed, and 330,000 damage against bosses, resistances, and path of building. The build could use some more damage contributions from Tree and Jewels, but it's already quite competent at bossing. A hardcore variant could be made by simply swapping out one of the curses for Enfeeble, running a decoy totem instead of Scorching Ray, and if you really wanted to, Stone Golem and Zealot's Oath. I don't think it's necessary. If you're interested in trying the build yourself, you can find the link to the build guide on the forums below, and ask me any questions there. Have fun out there and keep making fun builds, Exiles.